Welcome back. The bubbling feud between the U.S. and Canada is back in the headlines today as President Trump threatens to block the opening of a new bridge that connects the countries until Washington is, quote, fully compensated by our northern neighbors. Prime Minister Mark Carney saying today he had a positive conversation with President Trump, adding that Canada paid for the structure. The bridge is just the latest landmark to get caught in the crossfire, similar to a library quietly straddling the northern border. It's a symbol of good faith and strong relations that's now being used as a flashpoint over immigration, tariffs, and national identity. Our Elizabeth Schulze traveled to that library for tonight's Prime Focus.
In the quaint township of Derbyline, Vermont, daily life is entwined with Canada. The Canadian town of Stansted in Quebec is just steps across the border.
Water flows from Stansted to Derbyline. We use that for our residents, and then we send it back to Canada to the sewer plant that we actually co-own.
We couldn't separate ourselves if we wanted to.
You're stuck. You're stuck together.
Sarah Webster is Derbyline's top official. Jody Stone is mayor of Stansted.
It used to be that you would just walk across the border and wave or, check in briefly and they would know you by name. Geographically, it's a border, but for the community, it's almost non-existent.
A border so non-existent that this library, the Haskell Library and Opera House, straddles it. Inside, the library's president, Sylvie Boudreau, shows us how a line of black tape faded along the floor is all that separates the U.S. from Canada.
We've crossed over into Canada.
Into Canada.
As we sit here, you're sitting in Canada, I'm sitting in the U.S. That seems to show just how much this library symbolizes the close ties with the U.S. and Canada.
Yes, exactly. And like I like to say, inside, no one feels like you are from the U.S. or you are from Canada. I mean, we are all one group of people coming here for the same reasons.
The library was built more than 120 years ago, the vision of a wealthy heiress, Martha Stewart Haskell, establishing a meeting place for Americans and Canadians to exchange books and ideas and to attend opera shows. In the past, Canadians would walk down an open sidewalk to the main entrance, located on the U.S. side, without having to use a passport. But last March, the United States announced that would change. All Canadians looking to enter the library would have to go to a nearby U.S. border crossing. Trump administration officials claimed the library's open-door policy had led to drug smuggling and illegal immigration.
The Department of Homeland Security says there were more than 140 apprehensions tied to illicit activity just around this library in 2024.
I do think that the library ends up caught in the middle naturally because of its placement.
Federal data shows less than 1% of fentanyl seized at the U.S. border entered through Canada in 2024 and 2025.
Right there over those rocks.
Yeah, it's United States.
Sylvie worked for the Canadian Border Service for 2 decades before her job now. She says she understands the concerns over open borders.
It feels like no one's watching us right now.
No,
that's not
like
true.
But says the library itself isn't the problem.
Hidden camera there. There's another one on the post. There's another one on the post that we don't see from here, but there's another one there.
So from where we are right now, there are literally at least 5 cameras watching us from U.S. Border Patrol and Canada.
Yep.
The seamless ties between the U.S. and Canada that have defined this library and community for more than a century are now under threat. Tensions have boiled over as President Trump escalates his trade war with America's second biggest trading partner.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. We cannot pay the deficits of Canada, Mexico, and so many other countries.
Despite a landmark trade agreement with Canada and Mexico struck under his first term, the president has now hiked tariffs on many Canadian goods to 35% and has targeted industries like lumber, steel, and autos. In January, Trump threatened an additional 100% tariff on Canadian imports.
What about American residents here? Are they feeling the effects of these tariffs in any ways?
Of course we are. We're seeing increases in pretty near everything. So we were looking at our road salt budget just the other day, and it's gone up 11% since last year. And it's already a hefty budget for us because we do get so much snow and winter weather in Vermont. We'll have to make adjustments and cut other items.
In October, the president abruptly cut off trade talks with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, angry over this ad paid for by the Canadian province of Ontario.
Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition.
It used the words of former President Ronald Reagan.
America's jobs and growth are at stake,
Describing how tariffs cause higher prices and job losses. The Reagan Foundation came out with a statement saying the ad misrepresents the former president's address, Trump writing on social media that it's fake. And the president has not shied away from this threat.
Frankly, Canada should be the 51st state.
Last year, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem made a surprise visit to the Haskell Library.
And when she said this could be the 51st state?
Yeah, everyone was stunned. Everyone was surprised. Everyone was shocked. Shocked. Being Canadian, we are nice, so no one said anything.
For now, an emergency exit allows Canadians to access the library through a small storage room.
The library was not designed to have a separate entrance for the U.S. and for Canada.
No, it was not the intention.
What kind of reaction have you gotten from patrons?
A lot of people were angry at the beginning. But our message was really, let's rise above all this. We can find solution, and it's going to be better.
The library has quietly begun construction of a new door with an entrance in Canada set to open in May. It's a costly project that includes a new sidewalk with a price tag of more than $500,000. They've raised more than $200,000 through a GoFundMe page, plus a $50,000 donation from longtime patron and famous crime fiction author Louise Penny.
When you turn your sights on a little local library that is meant to be a symbol of the friendship between our nations, that's just pathetic.
Louise joins many Canadians actively boycotting American products. Travel by Canadians into the U.S. has plunged more than 30% in the past year. The storied author canceled the American leg of her new book tour.
Is this anti-American or pro-Canadian?
It's definitely pro-Canadian. It is the administration that is the target of our disappointment and our ire, not the American people.
Canadians have this global reputation for being nice.
And we are.
Still, has that changed in the last
I think
9
we are
months?
being nicer than perhaps others might have been. Canada has never looked for a fight. It's rarely started a fight, but it never backs down from a fight.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is keeping the door open to trade talks with the U.S. while also pursuing other trade relationships with countries like China. In a searing speech at this year's World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Carney warned of a rupture in the world order.
And the question for middle powers like Canada is not whether to adapt to the new reality. We must. The question is whether we adapt by simply building higher walls or whether we can do something more ambitious.
Prime Minister Mark Carney said the traditional relationship between the U.S. and Canada is over. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that, but traditions can change. So I feel that, we talk about it 10 years from now, it might be a good turning point, and we might be even in a better relationship than we were in the past.
How symbolic is it that they closed a door? A door. The Trump administration closed a door, and what was the response? We opened another one. And we'll keep opening them until you stop.